A mother wound is when your mother is present, but she's not attuned to your emotional needs. So she's there, she's offering what needs to be offered as nurturing, but emotionally, she is not attuned to your needs. How that can show up is that she can be very critical, very dismissive, abusive verbally. There are mothers who are going to give you mixed messages. Almost feels like you cannot know what they mean. So there is the message of, I love you, but then there is also the message of, I'm very disappointed in you, or you are not a good child. Sometimes mothers may use words like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you be like so and so? So those are some of the statements that can come out of a mother that will cause their children to feel wounded because they are not finding consistency or predictability in the nurturing. It seems like it's almost like a two-edged sword. Mothers who themselves, they are wounded. So they have inherited some woundedness from their own experience as children, and they come into mothering and they continue mothering their own children based on how they experienced their own mothers. There is a concept that is very interesting for me, the concept of jealousy between mothers and their daughters. A mother who is wounded, emotionally wounded, comes into a marriage and she is not able to healthily connect with her husband. When they have a child who is a daughter, and this child becomes very close to the father, the mother develops some sort of jealousy. That means that when the mother sees the healthy or loving or caring relationship between her daughter and her husband, she reverts into a child state, because as a child she was neglected by her own mother, or even neglected by her own father, or she had a father who was passive. So when mom would be critical, when mom would be dismissive, when mom would be abusive physically or even verbally, dad would not say anything. He wouldn't protect the daughter. And so what happens is that now this mother, who was not protected by the father and who was abused and neglected and abandoned by her own mother, she comes into her marriage and she sees her husband connecting with the daughter and offering affection and care. Then she reverts into that child state and she begins to develop jealousy towards her daughter. And so now, by the time this girl becomes preteen into their teens, they begin to have quite a bit of power struggles with their mother. You will find shouting matches, showing quite a bit of disrespect. And then if dad is not able to mitigate between these two women in his life, then he will sit outside of this and feel helpless, and so it cannot be resolved. But fathers who are emotionally intelligent and they are able to intervene in healthy ways, they can bring peace between the mother and the daughter. So if you find yourself having a lot of pushbacks with your mother, you probably need to look at your mother's upbringing. Wounded parents, they bring their woundedness into the family and they find themselves wounding their own children. The question that we ask oftentimes is, why is my mother like this? A lot of times when I work with individuals, adults who have survived parental wounding, they will always tell me that at some point I started wondering whether I am adopted, because they couldn't understand how mom would treat them the way she was treating them if this was my real mother. At times you find daughters who are looking at their friends and they can see the healthy interactions between their friends and their mothers, and so they will question, they long for that, they want it, but they are not able to get it. The other aspect of mommy wounds is the manipulation, that mothers can be very manipulative when they are not healed, when they have their own traumas. When you have childhood trauma, you can develop what we call borderline personality disorder, and this is where you are constantly needing outside validation for you to feel good about yourself. So you guilt treat people, you will find yourself gaslighting people, making other people feel bad, because that's how you feel. So you project your own unhappiness on others. Mothers who are wounded and they are not healed, how do they impact the lives of their boys? Number one, they will esteem them more than they esteem their daughters. So you are repeating exactly what you saw, even though you consciously probably don't realize that's what you are doing. So you will find that boys with mothers who are wounded, either they become what we call mama's boys, where they cannot make any decision without telling their mother. They are not allowed by their mothers to be independent. Their mothers will choose the girls they date. Their mothers will choose where they work. They will want the boy to keep showing affection, usually through monetary. Once you get your salary, are you sending something to your mother? She is going to call and have this sorry story of how much she might die of hunger, whatever it is that the manipulation that I need constantly for you to show me that I am important, I'm valued. And so mothers who cause woundedness on their children, they are usually also dealing with mommy wounds and daddy wounds. They constantly are needing for their children to affirm them, to validate them, and they will go to any lengths to get that. Families where we have wounded mothers, we see it playing out in what we call enmeshment. So the mother is so enmeshed in her family, especially with the boys, because the girls will get married and leave, but the boys will probably get married and stay. And so mom begins to want to have control over that. And the boys usually are not able to separate themselves from that because they can't see it. They are so used to it. And for them, it looks like affection. It looks like care. It looks like love. The boys who have mother wounds are not going to see them as wounds. They see them as loyalty. I cannot leave my mother because she is the one who has been there for me. They feel this guilt when if they need to create boundaries with their moms, they can't, because they have developed this enmeshed relationship with her. They are not even aware that it is unhealthy. They think that it is healthy until they get married, and then the wife begins to question this relationship. Once the wife comes in and they are able to see that the mother is guilt-tripping, the mother is manipulating the young man, the young man, first of all, is going to go into defensiveness because probably they have never seen it like that. And so it creates now, the young man will begin now to experience conflict, not only in his marriage, but he is going to feel conflicted with his mother. And most of the times he feels caught in the middle. And he feels helpless that he cannot protect his wife from his mom, because mom will always go into, now you are choosing her over me. And they might go, don't forget, I am your mother. I will always be here for you. So these kinds of statements, they will cause a young man not to be able to be independent in his thinking about the boundaries he needs to set with his parent. It is important for you as an individual, if you are having struggles in your adult relationship with either your mom, your dad, or in your marriage or in your relationships, and the issue of your mother keeps coming up, that she is a quote unquote a thorn in the flesh of your relationship, you need to pause and actually look at your life in a critical way to identify whether you have a mother wound. For women, it will be outright fights with mom, a lot of power struggles and a lot of pushing away and pulling and feeling manipulated, or they feel they cannot be independent, while the men will feel an affinity towards their mother. They feel close, they feel that they owe their mother, and they will feel some, I would call it an extreme feeling of loyalty to the mom, so that now he is not able to develop a life outside of mom's control. Mommy wounds, again, they are rooted in abandonment, where mom was abandoned as a child and probably her own mother was abandoned. And so it is moving from one generation to another. And until one person in this line of generations identifies it and is able to cut it short and find their own healing, so that the next generation doesn't have to experience the same. So it's important that you take this into consideration and seek therapy. Usually healing childhood traumas, you cannot do it by your own. You need the support of a therapist so that they can identify for you how to acknowledge, number two, how to disentangle yourself from that dysfunction, and number three, how to now live your life moving forward, because these are your parents. You cannot divorce them. You feel a loyalty towards them, and you should. However, how do you now develop boundaries with them? And it becomes a real difficult process because of the distortion that we think if I set boundaries with my parents, I am disrespecting them or I am abandoning them. You don't have to disrespect or abandon. You can set boundaries with your mother in a way that even she can learn how to be healthy, so that you can be able to live the life that is yours, not necessarily the life that you have been conditioned to see as yours. When you are living your life outside of your authenticity, you always feel self-doubt. You always feel unfulfilled. You cannot move somewhere because there is somebody else or there are other people that control how you make decisions and where you go. A lot of us, we do know that we struggle with people pleasing, and we also struggle with needing outside affirmation for decisions and the things that we decide to do in our lives. So I hope this information triggers you to reach out. Click on my website. You will find my phone number. You will find my social media handles, so that you can start this journey of disentangling yourself from the dysfunction of your family of origin. You can do that in a safe way, in a healthy way, and you can increase the healthy relationships that you desire. And I will be glad to walk with you. Until I see you next time, continue to live by design.